The sun is starting to rise in rural Lacona, Iowa, in the early morning hours of June 19th, 2015. And if you've never heard of Lacona, Iowa, that's okay. Not many people have. In 2020, Lacona's population was only 345 people. Lacona is a small town, surrounded by expansive farmland on every side. On Perry Street, there is a dirt road that takes you up to a small white farmhouse with a green roof and green shutters. There is a shed next to it and a few pieces of farming machinery around it, and there are no neighbors for miles. Just lush 900 acres of farmland owned by the Carter family that had lived there for almost 50 years. That morning, Bill and Shirley Carter leave the house to make a trip into town to grab some coffee before Bill starts his day on the farm. Today he was preparing to haul corn with his son, 42-year-old Jason. The couple were in their late 60s and had been farming together since they married in 1963. They had 2 sons and a daughter and several grandchildren. They drove off to their local coffee shop, picked up their usual orders, and then drove back home. Bill dropped Shirley off at their farmhouse and gave her a kiss. He told her he would be back around noon. Bill drove off to do his daily work on the farm. As Shirley waved goodbye, Bill would have never guessed that would be the last time he would ever see his wife alive. Lacona is a safe town in one of the safest states in America, so it's completely out of the ordinary when the following 911 call comes into the local police station early that June afternoon.
911, where is your emergency?
Yeah, I need an ambulance, man.
Okay, to what address?
132 Perry Street. My mom was laying here on the floor. Where she's dead. I don't know what happened.
What's
It
your...
was like, I've been waiting here for 2 hours.
The man you hear in the call is 42-year-old Jason Carter, Shirley and Bill's youngest son. And he has just found his mother, 68-year-old Shirley, dead on the floor of the kitchen of her home. After Jason gets off the phone with police, he calls the sheriff's personal phone and tells him what has happened as well. Jason then calls his sister Jana to tell her that he has found their mother. It is Jana that calls her father Bill, who is still working on the farm, to let him know that his wife is dead. Because of how rural Lacona is, police didn't arrive at the Carter house for several minutes after the 911 call was made. Bill arrived before the police and ran inside to find his wife lying on the floor. According to Bill, she was face up, her eyes were open, and her hands were on her chest. When police arrived, they removed Bill and Jason from the house and entered. Shirley lying on her back in the middle of the floor. She had been shot twice. As they looked around the house, it was clear that whoever shot Shirley was looking for something. All the drawers and cabinets in the house had been rifled through. Papers were strewn about all over the house. As the small-town police looked around the house, they realized they were dealing with their first murder case in several years. It was obvious that whoever killed Shirley was looking for something in that house. But what? Bill and Shirley were modest farmers. They weren't known for their wealth, and there weren't rumors in town about some secret fortune they were hiding. The police knew they had a huge hurdle to overcome in finding out who could have murdered Shirley, but Bill Carter was ready to point fingers very early on. And he was pointing them at his son, Jason. Hi, strangers. This is your host, Alexa Morrissey, and today's story is an interesting one because it deals with the complexities of family dynamics. Family, on the surface, is supposed to be the simplest thing in the world. Families take care of one another and are the people that love you unconditionally. But in reality, we all know family is far more complicated than that. And yes, they are supposed to be the closest people to you. But if you know anything about true crime, it's that the closest people to you are often the most likely to hurt you. Lock your doors and listen closely. This is Stranger in the House. Shirley Carter had been shot twice in the chest. The first shot hit her at the bottom of her heart, while the second ruptured it. As mentioned before, the house looked as though it had been ransacked. Drawers and cabinets had been rifled through, but surprisingly, no money had been taken. Investigators found Shirley's purse, containing credit cards and $140 undisturbed. And there was even an envelope containing $1,700 in $100 bills lying on top of a dresser. The only thing missing was a gun that Bill Carter kept in the basement, and police believed that was the murder weapon. Before escorted out of the house, Jason pointed out to police 2 different bullet holes in the kitchen, one on the fridge and one on the floor. Because the local police were not used to dealing with murder cases, multiple agencies were called in to assist, including the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation, the Marion County Sheriff's Office, the Pella Police Department, the Knoxville Police Department, the Warren County Sheriff's Office, the Indianola Police Department, and the Iowa State Patrol. Lead investigator Mark Ludwig took one look at the scene and believed that it was staged to look like a robbery. Like I said, nothing but the gun was missing, and yet the whole house appeared ransacked. He described it as a juvenile attempt to stage a robbery. Within days of the murder, both Bill and Jason were brought into the police station for questioning. Bill Carter had been with his wife for over 50 years. He and Shirley were known as an extremely loving and devoted couple. So when Shirley was killed, Bill was devastated. According to the Des Moines Registrar, he made 2 suicide attempts in the year following his wife's death. He said he felt like he had nothing without her. Right away, Bill was suspicious of his son Jason and told the police that information as soon as they sat him down to question him. When police asked Bill why he thought Jason could do such a horrific thing, he told them he had several reasons. Jason had been the one to find Shirley, but Bill found it odd that Jason had called his sister Jana to tell her their mother was dead before he told Bill. Bill and Jason were both working on a farm that morning hauling corn, and it was Jason who had went to the house to grab snacks for them. Bill would be at the forefront of his mind, so why not call him? Bill also thought it strange how Shirley was found, laying face up, with her hands resting on her chest. It didn't look like she tried to run away or struggle. It was like she knew her killer. Even without this information, lead detective Mark Ludwig was also suspicious of Jason. Let's go back to the 911 call for a second. Jason says that it seems like his mother has been laying there for 2 hours. That's pretty specific.
What?
It's like you've been waiting 2 hours.
Detective Ludwig said that, to him, it sounded like Jason was trying to create a timeline. The medical examiner couldn't determine an exact time of death, but he said she had to have died between 7 a.m. and noon. Jason arrived a little after noon. Jason had an alibi for most of the morning. He was loading grain onto his truck. There is surveillance footage and eyewitnesses that confirm Jason was in his truck waiting in line and eventually loaded the grain for several hours that morning. After 10 a.m., he is seen finishing up and drives off. He went to the farm first and then went to the house to grab snacks. On the call, Jason says it looks like she has been laying there for 2 hours, suggesting to the operator that she has been dead for a while and was killed while he had an alibi. But how would Jason know that she looked like she had been laying there for 2 hours? Jason has no forensic training. Even the medical examiner couldn't determine when she died. And to be fair, I hate breaking down 911 calls. I think when people are in distress, the way they act and speak can be strange. If you don't know how you are going to react to seeing something horrific until it happens, shock and emotions kick in and take over. Jason may have just been rambling in his distress. However, there was something else Jason did that day that made Detective Ludwig suspicious. Remember how I said Jason pointed out 2 bullet holes in the kitchen to police before he was escorted out? Well, that was strange to police. Ballistics is a full science, and bullet holes are small. They are not easy to identify, especially not in textured wooded floors like the Carter house had. It's also not something a distressed person would normally pick up on. The focus for the short period of time between finding the body, calling police, and police arriving would be also exclusively on the dead body. When police bring in Jason in for questioning, they ask him if he would agree to take a polygraph, which he does. Unfortunately, he fails it and is read as being deceitful.
Jason, what are the 2 things that you are deceptive on? Do you positively know who did this?
No!
Well, according to the test, you do.
Well, that damn thing is wrong!
It's not wrong.
It is too!
It's not.
I never touched my mom! I never hurt her! The killer is still out there that shot her!
What happened at your mom's house?
She was shot dead.
I understand that, Jason. We need to get to the truth here.
That is the truth.
You know, I think
I walked in the door and my mom was laying in a pool of blood. I walked in and found my mom dead, and that's it, period.
That's not true.
That is the truth.
It's not true, Jason.
That is to the
It's
truth.
not true, Jason. We need to get past that, and we need to get to what the truth is.
I'm telling you the truth, the
You're not telling
god-awful
the
truth.
Jason.
I'm telling you the
You're
truth.
not telling me the truth, Jason.
Yes, I am.
You're the one
Define
failing the
things.
polygraph examination.
Haven't
Nobody else fits those things. Jason, I'm confident. I agree, poor mom. She doesn't deserve this. She doesn't deserve
She
what
doesn't
happened
deserve.
to her.
If
and
she
doesn't
could talk
deserve
right
you
now,
sitting here.
she'd strike both your asses dead because she knows I didn't do that. Okay?
She does know.
She would strike both your asses dead because I didn't do this.
She said
And if
she
you keep
knows.
blaming me, I guarantee both of you will go to hell because I didn't do a damn thing to my mom.
No, Jason, I'm gonna keep telling you you did it because you did.
No, I didn't.
And together we can get past this. But you condemning me to hell isn't gonna change the facts of what occurred.
Now, polygraphs are kind of a strange thing. They are inadmissible in court, meaning that even if Jason failed one, that can't be used to prove his guilt. Now, there is a moment in the interrogation tape that catches Jason in an absolute lie. Remember the gun that was used to kill Shirley? Well, it's still missing, but we know it was taken from the basement. It was actually in a green gun safe in Bill and Shirley's basement.
I didn't even know he had a damn gun safe till just recently.
This is a lie. Bill said that it was actually Jason and his other children who bought him that safe one year for Christmas. And there is a photo of Jason building it on Christmas Day. Police continued their questioning for over 11 hours. It's not until his wife, Shelly, called his phone and demanded he come home. After Jason walked out of the police station, there wasn't much movement into the case. And Bill was frustrated. In the months after the murder, Bill was told by police multiple times that they were close to making an arrest, but it never happened. So Bill ended up hiring his own private investigator to look into his wife's murder. The investigator presented Bill with an interesting motive for his son killing his mother. According to the investigator, Jason was having an affair. Jason had been married to his wife Shelly for over 10 years and had 2 children with her. But unbeknownst to Shelly, 15 months before his mother's death, Jason had begun an affair with a local woman named Tara Kozlerilk. Tara was a married woman who lived about 10 miles away from Jason. She met Jason through a mutual friend. According to Tara, she and Jason bonded over their financial situations and different kinds of stress they had. Jason would contact her with a prepaid phone he kept under the hood of his truck. The private investigator had uncovered the affair and believed that Jason's mother Shirley had recently found out about it. And the investigator told Jason's siblings this information. They claimed that Jason probably believed his family would cut him off if they found out about his affair. And that would be a problem, since Jason was struggling financially. Jason was struggling to pay off some of his debts and had actually been borrowing money from his parents. He occasionally worked with his father delivering grain, but did not work on the family farm. According to one of Jason's friends, when he asked why he didn't work on the farm with his family to make money, Jason said that it was because, quote, his mother was a bitch. Jason also happened to be the executor of his parents' wills. Jason stood to receive their land, which amounted to $6 million, and liquid assets that included $800,000 in savings after their deaths. Now, once Bill told police that Jason was having an affair, Mark Ludwig pulled Shelly, Jason's wife, into the station to tell her. The idea was that if Shelly knew Jason was cheating on her, she would be less inclined to protect him and tell police anything she knew to help prove his guilt. Unfortunately for Ludwig, Shelly stood by Jason. Yes, she had doubts about their marriage, but she had no doubt that Jason had nothing to do with his mother's murder. After a year, Bill had given up on the criminal investigation and filed a wrongful death civil suit against his son Jason on January 5th, 2016. The civil suit didn't go to trial until December 2017. In the civil suit, Bill alleged that Jason killed his mother for financial gain. Despite no solid physical evidence pointing to Jason, a jury found Jason responsible for his mother's death and ordered him to pay $10 million to her estate, which at this point was his father, Bill. And once he was found responsible financially for Shirley's death, police arrested Jason on murder charges 2 days later. The police reasoned that if a civil court could find him liable for his mother's death, Jason could finally be charged criminally. The issue with a criminal trial, however, was that there is not a single piece of physical evidence suggesting Jason murdered his mother. The murder weapon was not found, and that means no fingerprints were examined. There are no eyewitnesses. It's all circumstantial, so the police and prosecution was taking a huge risk by charging Jason with first-degree murder. But it was a risk they were willing to take. The criminal trial started in 2019, and Jason's motive was a huge issue since Bill was still alive. Remember, both Jason's parents had to be dead for him to receive anything. The prosecution alleged that it was possible Jason also planned to kill his father and then would collect the money. But there is no proof that this was Jason's plan. Jason's mistress, Tara, also took the stand and confirmed that she and Jason had been having an affair. She testified that she knew nothing of any issues Jason had with his mother and was unaware if his mother knew about their affair. Bill testified against his son, saying that he thought Jason killed his mother to get their money and planned to kill him as well. He also believed that the police hadn't properly looked into Jason as a suspect because Jason was close friends with the local sheriff. Remember, Jason called the sheriff's personal phone after he called 911 the afternoon he found his mother. According to Bill, police never looked at Jason for blood or gunpowder residue that day because of his friendship with the sheriff. They also brought up the fact that Jason had lied to police about not knowing about the gun safe in the basement, and showed the photo of Jason building the safe the Christmas morning he got it for his father. Now, the defense called an expert witness who had testified in other major trials. He said based on the evidence he reviewed, he believed Shirley had been dead 2 hours by the time she was discovered by Jason. This would seemingly acquit Jason since he was on video hauling grain earlier that morning. After a short deliberation on Thursday, March 21st, 2019, a Pottawatomie County jury found Jason Carter not guilty of murdering his mother. Bill Carter was devastated that his son would not be going to prison for his wife's murder. But Jason still had to pay his father $10 million in damages from the civil suit. Now, that is kind of where this story ends. Jason was found not guilty, and he can never be charged with the murder again because of double jeopardy. Since 2015, Jason has maintained that he did not kill his mother. But he thinks he knows who did. His father, Bill. Now, this could be a case of a scorned son feeling betrayed by his father pointing fingers at him. But Jason says that at the time of Shirley's death, Bill and Shirley's relationship had become strained. I couldn't find many details as to what issues the two were having, but Jason believes Bill should have at least been looked at as a suspect. In June of 2020, something strange happened involving Bill and his other son, Bill Jr. According to the Des Moines Register, Bill Jr. was arrested for physically assaulting his father. Police said Bill Jr. knocked his father to the ground and kicked him twice on a road near the home where Shirley was killed following an argument. We don't know what this argument was about, but it happened less than a year after the trial against Jason. Now, this might not be related to Shirley's murder at all, but it is strange. And I think that's what's frustrating about this case. I think there is a lot we don't know about the inner workings of the Carter family. For example, it's quite shocking to me that Bill was so quick to turn on his son. And why did Jason make that comment about his mother being a bitch and not allowing him to work on the farm? As of now, we will have to live without these answers. Now, there is another suspect, or rather suspects, that I haven't told you about. Joel and John Falwell were two brothers who had a long history of criminal drug charges in Marion County, where the Carters live. 2 months after Shirley's murder, John was in prison and allegedly confessed to a fellow inmate about the murder. According to the inmate's testimony, Joel and John Falwell, along with another man named Matt Camrick, were burglarizing the Carter home when Shirley Carter, quote, spooked him. So they shot her twice and fled the home. Now, I think, because this confession is based off another inmate's testimony, we have to take it with a grain of salt. But Jason believes Iowa police never followed this lead about the brothers because they were too laser-focused on him. Both Jason and Bill Carter still live in that small town together. Yes, the one with only 300 and something people. But they don't speak to each other. And as of now, they don't plan on reconciling. Shirley's murder is still being actively investigated, and I hope one day the Carter family gets some closure. If you have any information about Shirley's murder, please contact the Marion County Sheriff's Office at 641-828-2220, or file a report anonymously through Crime Stoppers of Central Iowa, 515-233-1400. Stay safe, strangers, and thanks for listening. This episode was written by Alexa Morrissey. Stranger in the House is a Boy Wonder production. All our sources will be listed in the show notes.